Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of A Kirk Sports Talk. My name is Andrew Kirk. You guys can find me on Twitter at CSUA Kirk, and then the blog, which I'll get more posts on eventually. It's A Kirk Sports Recaps at .blogspot.com. Got a very special guest today. I've never done I've had him on the phone. I've talked to him on the phone a bunch of times. Never had him face to face, webcam to webcam. St. Louis's own Factoid Allen. How we doing, man?
I'm doing well, AK, man. Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it. It's good to see you face to face as well. I dig the colors and you got going on in the background there in the room. Pretty neat stuff, man. But appreciate you taking time for me. Looking forward to talking a little boxing today, man. Mayweather Paquio, the biggest fight in many, many years, going down tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, I know you've been a fan of boxing for a while. What fight prior to this was like the biggest fight of all time? Probably Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, right?
Man, there have been so many big fights. I mean, you got to look at it, and I actually had a chance to again do a show a couple of days ago. When you look at probably the biggest fights in boxing history, you got to go back to Joe Louis versus Max Schmeling, the second fight, which was huge with the implications that were going on with the World War. Joe Louis needing to win, being the heavyweight champion of America, needed to get that big win over Max Schmeling. Just for the sake of America and this country, feeling good about what was going on, because the war was really taking its toll, not only on the United States, but also a lot of Europe. So Joe Louis versus Max Schmeling is probably at the top of the list. Second fight, and it seems to be a consensus, you've got Ali versus Joe Frazier 1. And that was a great fight. They fought, of course, 3 times. Second fight wasn't quite as good. Third fight was okay, but the first fight between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier was terrific, and by all accounts is number 1, number 2 on most people's list. Then it's kind of a toss up, I think, when you look at probably maybe 3, 4, 5. Mike Tyson versus Lennox Lewis was a huge fight. It was the first time that the cable networks actually had a chance that they worked together, that you had HBO and Showtime actually working together. And that was the Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson fight, which is just a huge heavyweight fight. Of course, Mike Tyson had already done his stint in prison, had come out. Lennox Lewis was the reigning, defending, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And that was a huge fight. Everyone wanted to see a major heavyweight fight, and that set records at the time. And then you've got, again, a couple of toss-up fights. You mentioned, Ali versus George Foreman was huge. You can talk about in the 80s, a huge fight. And similar to this, when you talk about big-time mega matchups, when you had Ray Leonard, hooking up finally with marvelous Marvin Hagler. Now, there may not have been a more anticipated fight, and it was one where Ray Leonard kind of, by his time, he kind of waited until he thought maybe Marvin Hagler was a little bit maybe over the hill, or had maybe seen his best days, and then he actually challenged and he had that fight. And that's probably one of the greatest fights, maybe in the history of boxing. Marvin Hagler was in a lot of great fights, but Ali, but Sugar Ray Leonard and Hagler and Marvelous Marvin Hagler was another really great fight as well. So there've been a ton, but probably about 4 or 5 that are at the top of the list. And I think I named a couple, plus what we'll see tomorrow night, most likely.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you've been a fan of boxing for quite a while now. Have you been to some of the fights? I know you had a guy, Devin Alexander, on your show a bunch of times. I don't know if he's in the same league as Mayweather and Pacquiao, but how many fights have you been to in your lifetime? And do you stick out?
In my life, well, I tell you, I'll start probably by talking about maybe what got me into boxing. As a young man, my grandfather was a fight fan, and I think as a young man he actually boxed maybe a little bit of Golden Gloves. So as a kid, probably anywhere from 8 to 12 years old, I used to watch a lot of fights with my grandfather. And a few fights early on that kind of got me turned on to boxing, Meldrick Taylor versus Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., as well as several fights that Julio Cesar Chavez had been in that were fights that I remember. And of course I was like, man, this is a really great sport. Everyone in the 80s was, gung-ho and loved Mike Tyson. I was in that boat too. Tyson was on HBO, he's knocking everybody out. But just pure boxing, when I saw guys like Chavez Jr., like Meldrick Taylor, like Pernell Whitaker, they really turned me on to the sport. And I've been a fan ever since. I try to go to fights as much as I can. When Corey Spinks was the welterweight champion of the world here in St. Louis, I had a chance to see Corey Spinks fight. and he was the undisputed welterweight champion of the world at that point in time before getting knocked out by Zab Judah. Devin Alexander came along, also a top-tier fighter, a former champion at 140 pounds, 147 pounds, and he was close possibly maybe getting a Mayweather fight as well. But when fights come to St. Louis, I definitely try to get out to the venues. The Family Arena out in St. Charles will have them. We'll also have them downtown at the Savage Center, or actually Scott Trade, I think it is now because they changed the name like 10 times. But try to get down there and watch fights. We also, Friday Night Fights comes in. Not Friday, Showbox will come into the casino, the Ameristar Casino. So I'll try to head out there and see fights. But I can't even tell you how many events I've actually been to on the top of my head. I traveled, to Las Vegas to see, Mayweather fight Cotto some years back. I've been in Atlantic City to actually see Devin Alexander, Lee Purdy, and Lucas Matisse versus Lamont Peterson. Was in Cincinnati late last year to see Adrian Broner fight and some other decent fights on that card. So when I can make it out and travel, I can. But, fight fans, sometimes you're out there, kind of balling on a budget when it comes to getting to these events and all the spending cash you need to be able to enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Now, as you know, I'm not really up to date on boxing, but when it comes to Mayweather and Pacquiao, if you could relate it to like a sports rivalry, like a big time sports game that we as sports fans say, like baseball, football, basketball, what event would you relate it to this fight? Like, how big is this fight?
Oh man, you want to talk? This is the biggest economic fight in terms of revenue generation that boxing's ever going to have. Mm-hmm. It's unique, and in terms of comparing it, I like that you asked that question. And the first thing that came to mind in baseball are two great championship teams: the St. Louis Cardinals, who of course I'm here in St. Louis, and the New York Yankees. Right now, neither one of these teams have met in the World Series in my lifetime. That hasn't happened. But when you go back in baseball lore, these teams met, 100 years ago and played in several different World Series. But in the last 30, 40 years, that hasn't happened. So you're talking about the top team in the Yankees in terms of championships. And then you're talking about the second best team in terms of the St. Louis Cardinals, again, in terms of championships. So when you look at Mayweather and Pacquiao, you're talking about the undefeated, undisputed welterweight champion of the world in Floyd Mayweather. You can say he's the Yankees if you want, the evil empire. And then you've got Manny Pacquiao on the other side, who could, for this instance, be he's the B guy, because in boxing they talk about an A side and they talk about a B side. Floyd Mayweather is the draw here. He is the A side, which means Pacquiao would be the B side. Now, in a comparison between maybe the Yankees and the Cardinals, it's hard to say which side is A and B, but if you're basing it on championships, of course, maybe you're going to say then the Yankees are the A and the Cardinals would be the B. Never having met before, what you have is this colossal buildup for this fight between a legend, a living legend in Floyd Mayweather, undefeated. Everyone he stepped in the ring with, he's been able to walk away with victories, figure guys out. He's a champion right now at 147 pounds. He's also the champion at 154 pounds. Mayweather owns those two divisions. Manny Pacquiao, an 8-time, world champion, moved up many weight classes, and now, of course, fighting at 147 pounds as well, has campaigned at 140. And I think Pacquiao started at like 108 pounds. I mean, he was really small. So for the fact that he's up where he is right now is tremendous. So this is a mega matchup in boxing. Right now, it's got Super Bowl type of appeal. No question about it. When you're talking about the amount of money, number one, that they're going to be charging, and the fact that casual fans, casual Joes, are talking about this fight, people who would never care about boxing. And it's just like the Super Bowl. People who don't care about, there you go, Kirk. People who don't care about the Super Bowl, care about football, they tune in for the Super Bowl because it's the last game, it's the big game. Maybe they want to watch the commercials. But for this huge fight, nothing bigger in my lifetime.
Yeah. And I can remember, like, how long has it been since they've been trying to get it? I think I was in probably junior, senior year of high school, since they've been trying to get this fight to happen. I mean, it's been talked about for so many years, and I mean, I'm glad that it's finally going to happen. Hopefully we see maybe a sequel, a trilogy of it, depending on how tomorrow night goes. I'm just happy it's finally happening. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be able to watch it. I have to work at like 7, but I'll definitely, first thing I do when I come home, I'll definitely go to ESPN.com to see the recap, see how everything goes.
Yeah, people are, like I said, for casual fans to be excited about a boxing match is huge. because for the last, 5, 6, 7 years, there's been this rumor that's been floating around, an ugly rumor about boxing, that boxing is dead, that boxing is a sport that's dying, that no one cares about, the sport, because you're not getting, number one, the quality matchups maybe that the fans want to see. And number two, you deal with so much controversy oftentimes in terms of judges, officiating, and how fights end up. So there's been this kind of this building sense that boxing was in trouble. Floyd Mayweather, being an elite fighter, being at the top of the sport, everyone wanted to see him fight Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao went through this spell where, they both beat Oscar De La Hoya. They both fought Ricky Hatton. And people said right after Pacquiao knocked out Ricky Hatton, this is the time. It's time to make the fight. Mayweather had knocked him out, I think, maybe 10 or 12 months, 10 or 11 months prior, or previous. And then Pacquiao stopped him. People said, man, this is it. This is the time. That's 5 or 6 years ago, right? That time just went by, and there was negotiations that they were in place. They talked about the drug testing. And that was the number one thing that, from all reports from the inside specials they've had, about the fight and about the buildup, the recaps from the initial negotiations, that the Olympic-style drug testing got in the way. Pacquiao didn't want to conform to the Olympic-style drug testing. They talked about it actually on, I think, either the Showtime or the HBO. They mentioned on the Showtime as well. Yeah.
The fight against Hatton was in 2007. So
yeah.
I was about right on that. It was about eight years in the making. So it's like
they've been waiting, man. They've been waiting for a long, long time, and it's good for fight fans that the fight is finally going to happen. You couldn't happen at a better time. And a lot of people ask Kirk, they say, is it too late? Is it 5 years, 6, 7 years too late? Are these guys no longer at a level where we're going to get the same type of entertainment value? And I think the answer to that question is they're fine. I think both guys are still all right. Floyd is continued to work. He's continued to master and beat every guy he's been in there with. He fought Maidana twice, beat Canelo, Robert Guerrero, Victor Ortiz. All these guys, they took falls. Mayweather adjusted, he adapted, and he put all those guys down. Manny Pacquiao fought Marquez a couple of more times. Of course, he fought Algieri, got knocked out, okay? And when Manny Pacquiao got knocked out, everyone said, whoa, he doesn't deserve maybe now a shot at Mayweather. Mayweather's definitely not going to fight him now, because Floyd always talks about, I'm the best. I want to fight the best. And when you get knocked out and you get planked and it looks like maybe you're dead in the ring, Floyd was like, hey, why do I have to fight this guy? So the fact that now, so many years later, everything just fell in place and they're making the fight. It's on tomorrow night. I couldn't be more excited as a boxing fan for this fight, man.
We're definitely gonna be looking at this fight for decades and decades to come. It's going to be something that people will definitely go back and watch. I'm sure they'll find some way to have like a DVD package come out on and purchase it. It's definitely a big fight. Well, I got this I got Sporting News up on my iPad real quick.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about common opponents. The records for Pacquiao against common opponents are 6-1-1. He lost to Marquez.
Yep.
2012, and his draw was against
Marquez.
Yeah, it was against Marquez.
Yep, he had a draw with him. Their very first fight was actually a draw, which was many, many years ago. And then he got knocked out by Marquez. So yeah, and Floyd beat Marquez handily.
Yeah. So I mean, from what I've been hearing all week, they've been talking about like common opponents. Have you seen like any type of interviews between any of the common opponents? What do they think about this fight?
Yeah, absolutely. The HBO backstory, they actually Jim Lampley, Max Kellerman, they did interviews with common opponents. So they talked with Oscar De La Hoya, Shane Mosley, Miguel Cotto, Ricky Hatton, and Juan Manuel Marquez. So they talked to all of those guys. They all, I think, let's see, De La Hoya at the end of the day said his smart money is on Mayweather. His heart, though, was with Manny Pacquiao. Shane Mosley was also in agreement that we're not in agreement. He picked Mayweather. Miguel Cotto stayed neutral, didn't take either guy, but believed if both guys are ready, if they're hungry, you're going to get a great fight. Ricky Hatton picked Floyd Mayweather, and Juan Manuel Marquez also picked Floyd Mayweather. And Marquez, his opinion, I think, matters. I'm not going to say it matters more than the other guys, but Marquez was in the ring with Pacquiao 4 times. He's been in there with him 4 times, and he fought Mayweather once. So that, his opinion does hold a lot of weight because he's seen Pacquiao multiple occasions. So yeah, they all talked about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 2 guys you mentioned, Lampley and Kellerman, I know they're really good on their boxing knowledge.
Yeah. Jim Lampley's, depending upon your perspective, he can be slightly biased. A lot of hardcore fans don't necessarily care for Jim Lampley, but he's been doing it for, decades. So, I mean, you have to respect his knowledge, no question.
Mm-hmm. Remember Kellerman back in the day around the horn?
Yeah, Max was good back then, man. He's back. I guess he does Sports Nation now. I think I see him on there with like Wiley and Beetle. Yeah.
I think he took Cowherd's spot in there. Okay. Cowherd got his own show. Gotcha. So yeah, let's just go through them one by one. Manny Pacquiao. I know I listened to your old show. Is it old? Is he going to come back, Sports Mr. Factoid?
I don't know. That's a hard question right now, AK. A lot of people ask me, is Factoid going to come back, man? We shall see. We shall see.
Yeah. So I remember one time I called in. Your question was about Pacquiao Bradley. What is it about Manny Pacquiao that sticks out to other boxers? What are some of the things that you like or maybe dislike about Pacquiao?
Oh man. I think, and it looks like the weigh-in is live right now. They got HBO and Showtime pay-per-view. They got the weigh-in on, so I've got that going on in the background here as Manny Pacquiao is making his way to the stage to weigh in. But Manny Pacquiao, man, is a really dynamic fighter. Very explosive, quick, fast. Manny Pacquiao has fast hands and he has quick feet. He doesn't necessarily have great footwork, but his ability to cut distance down in a really short amount of time is tremendous. The guy's got heart. The number one thing about Manny Pacquiao is his heart. The dude, he likes to fight. He likes to engage. And anytime, if you hit Pacquiao, he's going to try to hit you back. And that's the thing from 108 pounds up to 147 pounds. It's always been consistent with Manny Pacquiao. If, for fight fans or for casuals, if you're looking for something to watch tonight, go back, Google fights with Manny Pacquiao, YouTube him against Eric Morales, against Marco Antonio Barrera, against Juan Manuel Marquez. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. A guy with high energy, with passion, with heart, and a guy who's willing to exchange and fight you. Manny Pacquiao is not a guy who's going to sit back and just wait. He's wanting to bring the fight. He wants to entertain the fans. And his style is unique enough because he is a southpaw. He's fast, but Manny Pacquiao possesses legitimate punching power. And that separates him from a lot of other guys. And I heard Freddie Roach, of course, his trainer, make mention that he's never been around, never had a fighter who possessed the speed and the power that Manny Pacquiao possesses. And that's why, of course, he's been his favorite pupil. But Pacquiao, I've liked him. I've always liked him because of his energy, his enthusiasm, and just his willingness to go out there and scrap, man. He's not afraid to fight.
Is there anything that you dislike about Manny Pacquiao?
Dislike, I mean, I wouldn't say Mayweather making his way to the stage now on the weigh-in as well. I wouldn't say there's anything I dislike about Manny Pacquiao, but I think in terms of his fight game, he's defensively reckless. He doesn't have great defense. Manny Pacquiao is, in my opinion, really strictly an offensive fighter, and individuals who are solid defensively, like a Juan Manuel Marquez, who can defend and counterpunch, give him problems. But in terms of disliking anything about Manny Pacquiao, no, but there are flaws in his game, and they're really in his defense and I think, again, he has quick feet, but he doesn't have necessarily great foot movement. So the foot movement and the defensive recklessness probably are at the top of the list.
Yeah, that probably cost him some of his fights. That's why he's lost 5. I mean, 57-5-2. That's definitely a great record. But we'll see what happens tomorrow night, huh?
A couple of those were early in his career too. Before he started working with Freddie Roach, I think he got knocked out to the body. I think it was at least in one of those fights, maybe both. So early in his career, since he's been a mainstream star, the knockout to Marquez is really the only kind of blemish you could really say that's been on the record. The loss to Tim Bradley, which was controversial and close. But other than that, I mean, the guy's been, basically flawless.
Yeah. He won his rematch against Bradley, didn't he?
Yes, he did win the rematch against Bradley. I believe that was a unanimous decision win for him.
Mm-hmm. And then let's move on to Money Mayweather. I know you're a WWE guy. They're having a special tonight on his thing with Big Show. I don't know if you're gonna catch that or not.
I remember watching it. I remember WrestleMania when he knocked out the Big Show. Broke that jaw real nice there on the show, man. So yeah, for me, Floyd he accepted that bad guy role, and he rolled with it as a WWE character.
Yeah. So what is it about Floyd Mayweather that makes him, in his words, the best in the world?
I guess when you really look at it, I say, man, Floyd he's done it all. This is a guy who's moved up from 130, 135 pounds, multiple weight class world champion. I mean, he's been bred for this. His father was a champion, a fighter. His uncle Roger, a fighter and a champion. His uncle Jeff, a trainer, former fighter. So it's in Mayweather's blood. I mean, this is all he's ever known, is to be a boxer. And from the time he's been fighting, he's been at an elite level. I mean, the guy has pure boxing skill. And Floyd Mayweather is smart. On the outside, and 50 Cent, made fun of him about some reading and things like that. But as a fighter, Floyd Mayweather is as smart and as sharp as they come. So when you look at this guy, man, he's done it all in the sport. He's dominated the welterweight division. He dominated 40. He dominated 47. He's a champion at 54. He's fought, he's made more money now than anyone probably in the history of the sport. He's the highest paid athlete in the world right now with the Showtime deal and everything he's got going on. So, I mean, at the end of the day, Floyd he's earned his right to be in this position, to be the A player against Manny Pacquiao. And when you go out and you beat each and every opponent, you figure it out, you master the style, and you cruise in most of these fights to victories, man, it's hard not to like the fighter himself. The person, different story.
What's up?
And as Kirk steps away there, I'm just going to quickly as Mayweather's about to step on the scale, just going to turn this up here and get a little bit of volume. Manny Pacquiao was just on the scale a moment ago. Mayweather looks fantastic in terms of the conditioning and what he's got in terms of the body. Looks just great right now. Jimmy Lennon about to announce Floyd Mayweather as he steps to the scale here. And you want to talk about the atmosphere is live. The flashbulbs are going crazy, folks, right now at the weigh-in. It's amazing what you're seeing right now. Everyone is hyped up. Everyone on their feet. Let me see if I can give it a little bit of volume here just to see what Mayweather's weighing in at. Looks fit. Looks very fit and ready to go, this Floyd. Mayweather weighs in at 146 pounds. Under the limit, no problem there for him. So he is good to go. And I didn't quite catch Pacquiao's weight. I'm going to quickly check my Twitter feed here because I know it's going to be posted. It's going to be there. Pacquiao at 145 and Mayweather in at 146. Both guys look very fit, very ready to go, very trim. Floyd looked very focused as he stepped on the scale just a moment ago. Looks ready to go, man. Pacquiao looks ready. So now we're coming up here on the stare down, which, of course, you're accustomed to. If you're not a fight fan, you get a stare down after all the weigh-ins, and that's what we're going to get right now. Again, as both guys looking fit, looking very trim. Manny Pacquiao, AK, comes in at 145 pounds, 2 pounds under the limit. Floyd Mayweather in at 146 pounds, 1 pound under the welterweight limit. Both guys look fit, look very trim, and ready to go. So now we're just waiting on that face-off here in a moment.
I love it. I love it whenever you have whenever I remember listening to a podcast on Under Review like a couple years ago when Dylan has any technical difficulties. I love how you can just take over. It's awesome.
Just roll, man. Just roll.
Do your thing. I mean, I've had guests in the past that are like reality stars that I've interviewed that are like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. You just got to keep talking.
And
That's it.
awesome.
That's it.
So, yeah, we were talking about Mayweather, Floyd Money Mayweather. He's got, how long has it been since his last fight? It's been a while, hasn't it?
Floyd just fought. Actually, I believe that was September or October, and I got Mayweather up here when he beat Marcos Maidana in the second fight. That was what 9/13, so September. He was in the ring September 13th, actually.
Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't in a while before that though, because he was locked up for.
Well, that you got to go back a little ways. That's going to be prior to the Showtime deal. So Floyd has actually fought last year. He fought twice, and he fought within about a 4-month span, which doesn't happen, as both guys now stare down Floyd Mayweather with a clear height advantage there over Manny Pacquiao. But no, he actually has been pretty consistent with the Showtime deal, which I believe now I think it was 5 or 6 fights. So Floyd's been fighting. He always fights on the Mexican holidays. Tries to fight in May, also tries to fight there in September. So he's been pretty consistent since the arrest and doing, his 90 days or so in that detention center for the domestic violence issue.
Mm-hmm. I know. I've read stuff on ESPN.com. Mike Tyson making a lot of comments about Floyd, calling him scared, calling him like what has he been saying about this fight? What does he think? Who does he think is going to take this one?
Mike said, and I caught the interview with Mike Tyson, and where he referred to Floyd as a scared little boy, scared little man, which I found it was hilarious. But Mike Tyson is a character all to himself. But I've heard Mike flip flop a couple of times on the fight. I heard him pick Mayweather. I heard him pick Pacquiao. So I think he's been kind of up and down on the calls, as a lot of analysts have been. Roy Jones has been all over Mayweather. He's picking Pacquiao. A lot of people, I heard George Foreman again on the special with Lampley and Kellerman. George Foreman, thought he went with Mayweather. Lennox Lewis, I think, also thinks Mayweather was going to get the big win. And Bernard Hopkins thinks after 6 rounds, it's going to be a whitewash. Floyd Mayweather is going to take complete control and dominate the fight. So a lot of the fight, the fighters, former fighters, retired fighters, they seem to be leaning towards Mayweather heavily in this fight.
Who is Factoid leaning towards?
Man, it's tough, man. I think on paper, honestly, anyone who doesn't think that it's going to be a competitive fight, I find it hard to believe. I think on paper it's a 50-50, 60-40 fight. If it's 60-40, of course, that advantage is to Floyd Mayweather because he is the undefeated guy and he's been able to master every style he's seen. But really, when you look at it, if you look at hand speed first, it's about equal. Both guys have fast hands. Floyd Mayweather is the tremendous counterpuncher. Manny Pacquiao is the lead fighter who throws punches and bunches, and he throws them from a lot of angles with very, very rapid timing and precision. Manny lets his hands go. So hand speed is about even. Who's got better footwork? I'd probably say Mayweather has better footwork, but Pacquiao has faster feet. And I talked earlier, Pacquiao is able to get in and out really, really quickly, and a lot of times he darts in and out so quick, where Mayweather is very much composed, can move around the ring, can fight off his back foot. Like when you talk about back foot, Muhammad Ali used to dance off the back foot, jab you right hand, dancing and moving off the back foot. Floyd does that great. That's not necessarily Pacquiao's style because he's a come forward fighter in terms of his aggression, in and out. So, when you look at the footwork, I think Pacquiao, again, faster feet, Mayweather with better foot movement. Defensively, Mayweather's a better fighter, hands down. Mayweather's never been knocked down. He's clearly never been. If you haven't been knocked down, you haven't been knocked out. Pacquiao's been knocked out to the body. He's been knocked out to the head. Pacquiao gets touched in fights because of his aggressiveness. Floyd Mayweather very seldom takes any punches. Marcos Maidana in probably the first fight that they had last year, got to Floyd a little bit. For the first time, I believe Mayweather was actually cut in a fight. Previous to that, the first time I saw him actually bleed was against Miguel Cotto, where Cotto kind of got to the nose. There was a little blood coming from the nose. But other than that, Mayweather doesn't take punishment. He comes out of fights clean. And for that, the better defensive fighter is Floyd Mayweather. So you look at those components. Better offensive fighter, it's hard to say who's a better offensive fighter because Pacquiao throws a lot of punches, a lot of combinations, and is very active, where Mayweather is far more reserved in terms of his punch output. He's all about, when I let my hands go, the punches will land. They're going to be accurate. I'm going to have a high connect percentage. So offensively, pretty even. Defensively, Mayweather, I think, the far superior talent here. That's why I say on paper it's 50-50. When they go in there tomorrow night, man, it's going to be all about who wants it more and who can adjust. And in terms of intelligence, and here's the key thing, Andrew. Juan Manuel Marquez, again, a guy who's been in the ring with both guys, Pacquiao 4 times, Floyd Mayweather once. I have nothing but respect for Juan Manuel Marquez. I think he's one of the greatest fighters, especially to come out of Mexico, and probably one of the greatest fighters of all time. Marquez is all about intelligence. He's all about smarts in the ring. And he made the point, I was able to beat Manny Pacquiao and be competitive with him in all these other fights, the first 3, and beat him in the 4th fight because of my intelligence. Because I'm so much smarter, I believe, than Manny Pacquiao. And in his breakdown, he let the people know. He said, I think Mayweather, he's the best fighter in the world. Floyd Mayweather will be able to use his intelligence to be able to outbox Manny Pacquiao. He'll be able to figure out the style. He'll be able to adjust. And he should be able to win the fight. The intelligence can't be understated. And Floyd is the smarter fighter here. So I think a couple of advantages go to Mayweather. I expect a close fight. I think you're going to get a split decision. I think you're going to have a card from Manny Pacquiao, 116, 112. I think you're going to have the other 2 judges' scorecards for Floyd Mayweather, 115, 113. So you're talking about a round difference. That's 7 rounds to 5 at 115, 113, and just a round above that on the Pacquiao card. And I think you get that type of decision because the judges always see it differently, man. Very seldom do they always see it the same. Pacquiao is going to be very explosive. The crowd, when Manny Pacquiao throws punches, is going to be engaged in the fight. They're going to be oohing and eyeing every time Manny Pacquiao lets punches go, even if those punches aren't landing. And sometimes judges can be swayed by things like that. So I think the activity for Pacquiao is going to convince one judge that he won the fight, 116, 112. Other 2 judges, I think they're going to see Mayweather's defensive ability, the ability that he can counter punch you. He's a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. Clean, effective punching is going to go to Mayweather, as it typically does. And Mayweather will edge it out on 2 cards. You get a split decision win with controversy, which could easily possibly set up a huge and an even bigger rematch.
Yeah. So you're saying Mayweather?
Mayweather by split decision.
I think so. I think so too. I think it's gonna be a good fight. I'm hoping with your prediction, I'm hoping that means we get another one either end of this year or early next year. I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I do too. I think it'll be a great fight, and there have been a ton of great boxing breakdowns of the fight. And if any of your listeners certainly were looking for the intellectual boxing breakdown about what's going to happen in the fight and what Mayweather has to take away from Pacquiao and what Pacquiao has to take away from Mayweather, hey, it's a lot of guys out there can certainly do it. I could spend time doing it, but at the end of the day, I think the ring intelligence, I'm banking the ring intelligence of Floyd Mayweather Jr., his ability to figure out his opponents. And Pacquiao, again, the lack of defensive thought oftentimes. I know Freddie Roach is got to be working on some things. They had to work on some things in camp so Pacquiao didn't fall victim to traps that Mayweather is going to set. Neither guy has ever been in the ring with someone of the other man's caliber. Floyd Mayweather has never fought anybody like Manny Pacquiao because there isn't anyone like Manny Pacquiao out there. He's fought southpaws and Zab Judah and Chop Chop Corley, maybe a couple of other guys, but he's never fought anybody with the speed, the quickness, the resume, the heart and the power, the will of Manny Pacquiao. On the other side, it's the same. Pacquiao's never fought a fighter with the skill set, the belief in himself that Floyd Mayweather has. And this is going to be, it's not going to be fight of the year. Anybody who's thinking it's going to be fight of the year, I don't want people to think that. And that's important, I think, for casual fans who are thinking about ordering this, who are thinking about spending $100, okay? If you can find, and that's $100 in HD, $89.99 in standard definition, if you're thinking about, watching the fight, if you know someone who's ordering it, see if you can maybe go over to their house to the fight party, as opposed to paying that out on your own.
People who are locally from me, they can go to Memphis Steakhouse in the mall where I work at.
Yeah.
I know they were advertising the fight. I'm pretty sure Buffalo Wild Wings in my area will probably have it as well. So
yeah, I would recommend it. And the reason being, while the main event is everything that fight fans and casual fans are looking for, I'm a little leery of the quality of the undercard. Okay. And I wouldn't want anyone out here to go out and spend $100 and you're watching and you're bored as hell because, the undercard didn't necessarily live up to expectation. And if the main event goes like a lot of Mayweather fights after 5 or 6 rounds, it's not really exciting. So taking that into consideration, if you can get to somebody else's place, a bar or restaurant that's showing it, think about that. But if you're a hardcore fan, I already know you're ordering the fight just like I am.
Yeah, buddy. So yeah, I definitely appreciate you coming on. We definitely was cool getting your perspective on boxing. But for a couple more minutes, let's transition into the draft real quick. I know you're a St. Louis guy. What do you think of Todd Gurley?
Hey, that's it's interesting because I know the draft was on yesterday. I didn't necessarily catch it, but I did see that the Rams made the pick of Todd Gurley, the running back there out of Georgia. And look, I like the fact that St. Louis took a shot on the guy. He was going to be most likely the Heisman Trophy winner before he hurt his knee. So there's a lot of talent there. The Rams certainly need to continue to get better. They've made some changes. You bring in a top-tier running back. You already had Trey Mason last year. Got a lot of carries. The second half of the season really kind of stepped to the forefront of that Rams running attack. Zach Stacy is still there. Although I heard a rumor that Stacy may be a little bit unhappy with the fact the Rams actually drafted the running back yesterday. I don't know. At the end of the day, you got to go out there and prove yourself. You haven't even, I don't think, run for 1,000 yards in the season yet, so you still got some work to do if you want to be a lead back. But for the Rams, hey, that's a decent pick. I'm always, I think the defense has certainly gotten better over the years, so maybe they didn't want to go that way in the first round. Jeff Fisher never takes offensive linemen in the first round. I don't know if they necessarily needed to.
There weren't many good ones on the board other than the guy from Iowa and then the guy from Stanford.
You took a top skill player. You took a guy who most likely he's on your board for a reason. So I think they probably took the best guy available. And if the kid is rehabbed the way that I'm sure the Rams are open for, he's going to be a big-time addition to the team.
Yeah, me being a Niner fan, I'm extremely nervous about how this coming season is going to go. I mean, we freaking clean house on personnel. Everybody's freaking leaving. Yeah. We draft a guy, Eric Armstead, who I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, was it last season, and I'm frozen. We drafted him 17th, so I mean, I'm not too thrilled about that pick. No,
the division is going to be. It should be interesting again. Defensively, it's still going to be right there at the top of the league, top of the NFL. Seahawks are going to be just as good. The 49ers, even though they're going to be in rebuilding, I think there are still enough quality pieces. Although, man, defensively, Patrick Willis retiring, that's huge. I mean, you lose a guy like that. They lost another with Justin Smith also.
I think he's still undecided, but we lost a young 24-year-old Chris Borland who retired for well-being reasons. I don't really understand it that much, but I kind of get it, Yeah. I kind of get it myself a little bit, but
he was playing middle linebacker. He was playing middle linebacker while Willis was out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand it. When you look at really the middle linebacker position, those guys take hits. I mean, they take big hits, making hits. Zach Thomas, had a long career, but at the end, his brain was rattled. I mean, he had a ton of concussions. We know about Junior Seau at that linebacker position, what happened to him. So it's a hard position to play and to stay healthy long term. Patrick Willis was dynamic for years, and now the body just broke down. So if the guy's thinking about his health long term, I can understand that. If you got in there, you did what you had to do, you made a little good money. If you got money to fall back on and a career plan, hey, go for it, man. It's a brutal sport.
I got to say, and then I'm going to wrap this up. The steal of the draft, I really like Fowler Jr. from Florida. I feel like he's going to be a stud on Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, Jacksonville is a team that's on the way up, I think still. When you look at what that team's going to be able to do, it hasn't necessarily worked out, but they're getting better.
Fowler's better than Williams.
I agree. Yeah.
Well, all right, man. It's definitely been a lot of fun. I'm definitely glad to get camera to camera. I remember first time I was on your show, I sang a little bit at the Police. I don't know if you remember that.
How could I forget? How could I forget, man? It was one of the best serenades of the Police I've ever heard. It was great. Thank you for reminding me about that. I may need to pull up that old podcast just to hear
that podcast for me and Brian Fernandez. That was a great memory.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate you having me on today, man. I was definitely looking forward to it. And for all your listeners out there, support CSUA Kirk there on Twitter. The guy does a fantastic job. Really diverse talent. You know about the real world and all the shows you were doing previously, following the entertainment stuff, back on the sports, man. So just a pleasure, top tier talent. And I heard, at least I saw some of the tweets and the Facebook posts, things were going well. You were writing for the school paper. So congratulations to you on getting that experience, man, and congratulations on the upcoming graduation.
I'm loving it. I've saved all my recordings on my phone, and I'm definitely thinking about sending them to my email and then putting it all on a CD, because it's definitely been a good experience, and I'm hoping to continue that. And next week, guys, either next week or 2 weeks from now, got a good buddy of ours coming on, Johnny Powers, JP.
Johnny Powers, my man.
I definitely want to keep going with the guests. Last week I had my brother and his broadcasting partner. They call our local baseball games. They've called a few of them on the school's radio station. That was a lot of fun, and definitely glad to have you, man.
No problem. Thanks, like I said, man. Thanks for having me so much.
Where can people find you? Do you got anything coming up planned that people should look out for?
If I'm still somewhat active on Twitter, nowhere near the level I was a couple of years back. But hey, hit me up on Twitter. That's at Mr. Factoid. That's MrFactoid there on Twitter. Mr. Factoid, hit me up there. Definitely chop it up, man. Talk about a little sports, and that's really it, man. Nothing major planned, but I appreciate again you taking time for me. I'm always happy to contribute anytime.
And the website, sportsmrfactoid.com. Do you still update that?
Nope. No, sir. No, sir. Just that Twitter handle, man. That's all I've got for the people.
Yeah. Alrighty, man. It's definitely great to catch up with you, man. It's definitely looking forward to hearing about the fight tomorrow, and enjoy it, man. I know you're stoked about it.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, catch you guys next time. Okay. Thanks again, EA.
Peace.